Welcome to Red Flags with Elissa.
Welcome back to Red Flags with Elissa. Elissa Brewster is an attorney with 2 decades of experience in high-stakes legal operations, and now she's helping individuals and families prepare for life's unexpected turns. I'm Evan Mack, and in today's episode, we're talking about what it means to plan for incapacity, whether due to illness, injury, or aging, and how to make sure the right people are empowered to act when it matters most. This is Who Makes Decision for You If You Can't. Planning for Incapacity and Emergencies. Ms. Elissa, welcome back.
Hi, nice to be back.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Listen, a lot of people, think estate planning is just about what happens after you die. But today's topic kind of is about life. Why is incapacity in planning such a critical piece of the puzzle before anything happens, as dramatic as death?
All right. So, the best way I know to explain this is we're going to emphasize the planning. Okay. Because no one plans to be an offender bender on their way to work, right? Especially, and I'm gonna take it all the way there and then bring it back. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are driving to work one morning and there's a huge accident and there's a fatality,
Mm-hmm.
or that person is really injured, right? It was a horrible accident. That person was not planning that,
Right.
right? So God forbid, because I don't want to put that, on anybody.
Yeah.
But those things actually happen. And I do have a close family friend that was in a horrific accident.
Wow.
And her life has been, it was touch and go there for a long time.
Wow.
And her life has been completely altered. She's recovering. She's doing well. She has a lot of love and support. The amount of love and support that is surrounding her is phenomenal. But that, if anything, to me was the wake up call. You just don't know what's going to happen. Okay. So that's why it is a plan. We're planning because accidents are not planned.
Right.
Right. It's just you going through life. And so what we can do in terms of planning is to really think about what decisions need to be made. Do you want to be on a ventilator for the rest of your life? Do you want to put your family and your children through? Right? That's not something, it's one of those things that you have to think about now and kind of let it like start here and settle in. Right? And really contemplate that.
Right.
Because I don't know that I want my children to have to wrestle with it. And because there's usually going to be one or two people that say yes and that one holdout that's a no.
You better believe it.
Right? And so when you have advanced directives, then that is saying it's taking the burden off of your adult children. Right? It's taking that burden off. Mama says she does not want to be hooked up to all these machines. Right? And or or I want this person making this decision for me because they know me better than anyone. And or I know myself better than anyone.
Right.
This is what I would like for myself. Do you want to be an organ donor?
Right.
Right? Do you want all of your organs to go to somebody else if they're viable, to help somebody else? Having all of that laid out and thought through is one less thing for your grieving family to have to consider. Because being in a hospital bed with all the machines beeping and whatever is traumatic enough for whoever has to sit there with you. They don't have to sit there, but you know what I mean. For whoever is going to be there with you, That is so emotional. And then having to make these other decisions on top of that, and not really knowing if they're making the right decision. If they know this is what you want, then okay, there's some peace with that. If not knowing, that's what makes that, in my opinion, I think that's what makes those decisions difficult.
Miss Elissa, can you tell people the difference between maybe a medical power of attorney and a financial power of attorney? You know, what's the difference between those two?
Sure. So a medical power of attorney is someone who is allowed to make medical decisions for you if you are incapacitated. Incapacitated could also mean that you're unconscious. Okay. So if you're in a situation and they're bringing you into the ER and you are unconscious, somebody needs to make that decision for you. And that's essentially what that means. So financial power of attorney is really someone that is going to be able to make decisions based on your finances, based on your more social environment. Everything else that is going along outside of your medical or your healthcare status.
So, Miss Elissa, what happens though if someone becomes incapacitated? Because I think about, but they don't have any of these documents in place at all. Like, what's the protocol there? You know, if that crazy scenario happens.
It's going to be your next of kin.
Okay.
Whoever that is, right?
Right.
So if you're a single parent and you have minor children, then it would most likely be your parent.
Okay.
Right? You're like my mother, father would be my next of kin. My next of kin now is my husband.
Okay.
Right? If as I am his next of kin. Okay. If something were, I'm trying to like extrapolate it out. It's really going to be the next person that is closest to you. Okay. So that could either be your sibling or your parents.
All right.
Okay. That is traditionally whoever is going to be your next of kin. In terms of financial power, that's a little bit more complicated, because if you don't have anybody deemed as your as who is going to be administering or taking over your estate, then there's different intestate laws that come into play, and it's going to depend on if you're married, if you're single, if you have children, if are they adults, right? And keep in mind, adult does equal 18.
Okay.
Okay, right. Adult does equal 18. And so a lot of those things are going to be played out in court, because the court then has to bring all of these different things together and disperse them. And the attorneys that, so think of it this way. You're either going to be spending that money, and I tell this to business clients too, you spend the money on the front end or the back end, right? So if you spend the money on the front end for estate planning, then you don't have to spend that money on the back end. And usually, if you're spending the money on the back end, it's more than if you were to spend it on the front end.
Okay.
So that's less money for your family to inherit, because we had to spend that money on the back end.
So Miss Elissa, what about guardianship? You know, why do people often want to avoid going through that process?
Because maybe I don't want this person. I don't know that I'm not sure that they are going to be a good influence over my children. Or let's just extrapolate this a little. I said I'm divorced, right? So if something were to happen to me, my ex-husband custody of my children.
Yeah.
I don't want him spending my money with him and his new wife right?
I know.
I want to secure that money for my children. I
Yes,
want to make sure that if that is the situation, that the trustee of my estate really has my best interest and my children's best interest at.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's another way to think of it, right?
Hmm.
Who is going to be in charge of your children? And if you have, again, there are a lot of people out there that have children with special needs, whatever those special needs are,
Yes.
whatever, however they're going to fit on whatever spectrum. When that child becomes an adult, they are still a child with special needs. They're just an adult child with special needs. Who is going to take care of them? I think that is probably the biggest concern that a lot of people that I've met, um, that needs to be addressed, right?
Hmm.
How are they going to get to the doctor? How, like, who's going to take care of them, and who is going to take care of them as if I was taking care, to give
Mm.
you that peace of mind, right?
Right.
Because adult children with special needs, they take a lot of, there is a lot of thought and planning, and worry that goes along with it. And so
Absolutely.
really it's just planning to make sure that all the ducks are lined up in a row, and that you did the best that you could to make sure that your beloved family member, is going to be taken care of.
So when someone's choosing an agent to act as a power of attorney, what qualities should they be thinking about in this person? Should they find someone with empathy? Should they find someone that knows what they're talking about? What, or is there a balance?
I would say there's a balance. One, definitely talk to the individual, right? Definitely talk to the person and make sure that that is a role that they're willing, to take on. And I would say, you can have, depending on the circumstances, and it is an individual family choice. But I would also say that it's important to make sure that they understand financially and
Mhm,
fiscally what is
mhm,
important to the decedent, right? What is going to be important to that person, to make sure that we are carrying out those things according to their wishes.
mm.
I think that it's a conversation that needs to be had, and it's a conversation, that if you have it early and you can talk through some of these things, it's going to prevent a lot of heartache.
So Miss Lisa, how can people protect themselves from financial abuse or maybe some overreach when granting someone that financial power of attorney?
That's why it's really important to have those kind of conversations and interviews. If you don't want to have a person, if you're just like, you know what, everybody in my family, I don't know about that. You can employ, a company. You can employ an attorney, in which to do so. It's not unheard of. It's,
So I also think when it comes to these documents and things, and when you're talking to me about all this stuff, all this legal paperwork, once a document is signed, is it permanent? Can it be updated? Can it be revoked? You know what I mean? What if something like what is this ironclad once it's locked? Is it locked in?
so I'm going to say
You about to do a
that
lawyer answer? Are you gonna do a lawyer answer?
I'm not going to do a lawyer answer. I thought about it. I thought about it. What I'm going to say is that documents are living, breathing things, right?
Mhm.
It can no longer be changed once that person dies. That's
Wow.
it. Okay. Up until then, like, marriages happen, divorces happen. You buy a new house, you buy a boat, so from my perspective, your estate should be reviewed, um, pretty regularly, if not every year, every other year, or particularly when an event, happens. If
Right.
if you have a baby, right? If you have another baby, like, those are life changing events, right? Maybe the easiest way to think about it is, if you are going to update your healthcare, like we have a new beneficiary, I'm no longer on this. That's also a good time to look at your estate plan. It is not something set in stone because people buy and sell houses, buy and sell cars, buy and sell boats,
Hmm.
um, acquire businesses. Those are the things that those are the events that are going to precipitate looking at your estate plan to see if it needs
Hmm.
to be updated. But once that person dies, it's done.
So somebody's just tuning in to Red Flags with Elissa, and they're hearing you, and they're like, "Man, I haven't done any of this. I need to get on it." What is the first step they should take?
Call me. I would say that we as attorneys are equipped to help you through this process, right? I'm going to ask you all the questions, all the scenarios. We'll go down all the rabbit holes that you want to go down, to make sure that you have peace of mind, to make sure that your questions are answered, to make sure that you understand, right? Because and for you to be able to prep the family, right? The rest of the family to say this is what's going to happen. These are where my documents are. These are my thoughts, and these are my wishes. These are my last wishes.
Mm,
So that your family can honor that, and that they fully understand the intention behind your estate plan.
mm. Miss Elissa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
Thank you all for joining us on this episode of Red Flags with Elissa. If you're ready to get started or review your existing plan, visit brewsterlawtx.com to connect with Miss Elissa directly. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a review if you found this information helpful. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.